All right, so this is a Lunch and Learn series. This one is completing an IBR to get your business permits. This journey is going to begin at our website, so it's www.tax.idaho.gov. This is where most of our things begin. On that web page, you'll see right in the middle it says business, and since this is what we're talking about right now, so we're talking about business, right underneath there it's going to say getting tax permits. The first step is just to click on that where it says getting tax permits. That is going to take you to this particular window. There is a lot of information here. It's basically 2 pages. The first part of it is for new businesses. It gives you an idea of what it is that the process is going to be, what this is actually doing, some information that you might need. There's also a couple of very helpful videos there. How do I get your business permits? And what resources do we need? For us, if it's going to be new, we're going to click where it says Idaho Business Registration or IBR application. We'll just click on that blue box. When we do that, you'll be taken to this window. This gives you a little more detail about what's happening, some information that you may need to provide, and then there's 2 options. There's begin new registration, which is where you will initially start because you'll need to create a new account, and there's an option to return to complete a registration. I'll go through what both of these mean here. Creating a new account is a new registration, so if this is the first time you've done it, that's where you're going to begin. This can take some time to complete. There may be a lot of questions depending on how your business is set up. If you don't have time to finish it, you can always save it and then come back to it later by logging in with your username and password and completing it that time. Now, if you've gone through this thing and you've completed it and you've submitted it, once you've submitted it, you cannot log back in and make changes to it after it's been submitted. So once it's submitted, it's locked. If you have to make changes after that, so let's say you initially completed the application and you were a sole proprietor, so it was just you. Business is doing really well, so now you need a withholding account because you're going to have employees. You're like, well, I'll just go in and change those questions. You'll have to create a new account. I'll show you how to get around avoiding duplicates here. But if you've already submitted it and you want to make changes, you have to create a new account and then go through the process. Once we get into this a little ways, I'll show you where there is an entry to input your existing permit numbers. You put those permit numbers in there, they will cross-reference, and they'll say, oh, well, they already have their seller's permit, they just need a withholding permit, so that's all we're going to give you. So we're going to begin a new registration, and this is what it looks like. You can choose your username, your password. You'll have to retype that password to make sure that you know exactly what it is, and you'll have to put in your email. The way that this entire system works, anything that has a little red asterisk next to it, the little red dot, is required. So you'll have to put something in there. Once you've logged in, this is a screen. Now, if you already have one in process, it will be listed there, and you can just go to it. If you don't have any that are in process or progress, you can create a new one. If you've already had one that you've completed, it will show you that there were some completed ones down in the bottom. So it kind of tells you where you're at right here. Okay. For me, I haven't started any. I don't have any completed ones. This will be the first one. So I'm going to click where it says New Registration. And this is where we kind of begin the whole thing of answering questions. So it does tell you that depending on the type of business you're registering, you may need various things. Business entity classification, you're going to need an EIN, I almost guarantee it. A legal business name, a board of directors member information. Now, obviously, if your business is not set up to have a board of directors, you're not going to need that info. But this is just kind of giving you anything that we might ask for listed there. Okay. And this is actually a really good tip for this particular system. Look for this little icon here. If you click on it, it gives you additional information about what it is they're actually asking about. Okay? I know it has saved me a couple of times when I've gone through this. I'm like, wait a minute, what is this? What am I supposed to answer? I click on it, I'm like, oh, okay, well that makes sense. So when you're ready to begin, we're going to click where it says I have the required information and am ready to proceed. And this starts here. So you'll begin with the authorization. You'll need to provide an electronic signature that states that you're authorized to answer these questions for and about the business. Remember, anything that's a red asterisk, you do need to put something in there. So a contact person, if you're filling this out as a third party, you will need to have a power of attorney form. Okay? A contact person, their number, their telephone number, email address. You don't need a fax number, and then you'll need to sign and certify up top that you're authorized to do this. Once you fill out that, then that button is active and you can continue. And then this is where we begin. So for ours, since I don't have one, it's going to be a new applicant. And then at this point, kind of based on the answers you're about to give for your business, you may see different screens than these that I'm going to show you right here. If anybody remembers Choose Your Own Adventure books, that's kind of what this is. A Choose Your Own Adventure book was you would read through the book and say that you can go left or you can go right. And if you decided to go right, then you flip to page 5. If you decided to go left, you went to page 3. So it's all different depending on your choices. I used to love those when I was a kid. This is kind of like that. The questions that you get are going to be dependent upon the answers that you gave in the previous ones, is the short way of saying what I was trying to say. So you'll make your selection here as to what kind of business it is. For us, it's a new application, and then we'll just hit OK, continue registration. So we're going to select our business type. Your registration needs to match the registration from the Secretary of State and the EIN from the IRS. So you want to make sure that you have those, and you want to make sure that you're matching these two things up. Otherwise, it can cause issues. So you can choose things like sole proprietorship, a nonprofit, a partnership. The more further down this list you get, the more complicated the questions could be. Okay. The date your business began in Idaho, and the month that your tax year ends. Okay, because some companies do their books differently. So make your selections, and hit OK and continue registration. For this example, it's going to be corporation. So the date that it was incorporated was March 1st, 2022. Their tax year ends in December. Here's the date that it was incorporated and the state that it was incorporated in. Now, if you had just chosen sole proprietorship, you wouldn't see the rest of these questions, right? You wouldn't see things like the incorporated questions and that kind of thing because they don't apply. This is your EIN number. Most businesses are going to be expected to have one. It's not required for sole proprietorship. I really recommend getting it anyway. They're easy to get, they're free, and then bank accounts, most bank accounts will require one for a business bank account. So, I would just get it. The other thing is, it's required for all our business types and for anyone who's going to have employees. So if you do expect to have employees at some point, you might as well just get an EIN. Okay? And you can do that at irs.gov. If you have one, just type it in here. You'll see for here that it's required for this particular enrollment, and then hit OK and continue. And then the business contact information is what we have here. So things like the legal business name, assumed business name if you're doing a DBA, business telephone, email, contact person type. For a legal business name, you're just going to list the legal name of the business. If the business is owned by a sole proprietor, list the name that's shown on the owner's Social Security card. If the business is owned by a corporation or an LLC or a partnership, list the legal name as registered with the Secretary of State. An assumed business name, or doing business as, or DBA, would be things like Karen Jones, DBA of Karen's Flowers. It's not necessary to enter A or NA. If you don't have a DBA, just leave it blank. Business phone number should be the number that's directly to the business. And your contact person information, it has to be an individual who could be contacted if we need information. If they're a third party, they need to have a valid power of attorney that's been submitted with us. Okay? And then we just go through and fill out this information. Once you have it, we'll move on to the next screen. And these are the business addresses. You want to enter the physical location of the business. Don't use a P.O. box or a drop box. Don't use an address of an Idaho employee working remotely. Once you save address, the next screen is going to let you enter in a mailing address, and then you can just click on the link if it's the same. But this is the actual physical address of the business. The form's address or mailing address is for entering in third-party information where they're only going to receive the filing reports. No company mail will be delivered to a form's address. So this is where they would want to enter a POA address if they have a valid POA on the account. We're good so far? Everybody is shy. All right, continuing forward, we're looking at the primary, oops, sorry about that. We're looking at the primary function of your business. You just search through the categories and just find the one that best describes your business. You may not find an exact match. Get as close as you can. If you're unable to find a left classification and you select that button, you'll need to put in a detailed description of your primary business function. So you have 25 to 200 characters listed there. And then the questions below the description space are for specific types of businesses. If you don't know what they are, then you're probably not one of those businesses. Kind of a flippant statement, but I like it. If you need to answer these, go ahead and select yes or no for those, and then hit continue when you're ready. And then the responsible parties. Depending on the business structure that you set up, you can be asked to provide information to all members, partners, shareholders, or spouse of your business. Since we selected a corporation as our business type, it's going to ask for the officers for this one. It's also going to be asking for the percentage of ownership for each officer. All we need to know is that total ownership equals 100%. Okay. Olivia has a question. I was a little late to the call, and I'm assuming these are instructions for a business that are physically located in Idaho. We will discuss businesses that are domiciled in Washington or other states but perform work in Idaho. This is for both. So this is if you're doing work in Idaho, and and you're collecting sales tax, or you have employees that are going to be working in Idaho that you're going to have to do withholding for, you need to get permits for that so that you can remit that to the state, and this is where you will do that, is through the IBR. Okay. Cool. So this, remember when I said if you're coming back and you're making adjustments to a previously submitted application, this is prior accounts. This is the screen that's going to ask you if you have any previous or existing permits. If there aren't any, just hit OK. This is things for this particular business, so if you do have a withholding permit or a sales permit, this is where you would put that number so they don't get duplicated. Is there a fee for registering here? No. There is a fee for registering for the Secretary of State. It varies on your business. I think for a sole proprietorship, it's like $20, $25. The Idaho Business Registration that we're going through is free. And then Rita has a question. I don't have an office and I work out of my home. Can I use my virtual office, my virtual address, or do I have to use my home address? I'm going to see if Janet's available. Janet Rostock is our subject matter expert. I am pretty sure I know the answer, but I haven't actually heard the answer to this yet. So if Janet's available.
You're going to want to use your physical address.
You're really quiet, Janet.
Oh, let's see if I can turn myself up a little. that a little better?
No, not really, but I think you said you need to use your physical address, right?
Yes, you do need to use your physical address. You can put your virtual in, but for the physical address, you need your home address. It needs to be something that mail can be delivered or...
Excellent. Thanks. So Rachel asked, is a P.O. box acceptable? Not for your physical address, not for your home address. We want the actual address where the business is going to be located. Yeah, that's exactly correct, Olivia. These are great questions. Any other questions? Okay. So employees, this is where you determine if you need a withholding account or not. You just need to answer all of these questions, either yes or no. If you answer any of them yes, you're going to get a withholding account. So just make sure that you're answering all of these accurately, okay? So do you need or will you have employees when you work in Idaho? And just go through the list here. An employee is anyone who you're going to pay to perform services for you unless he or she is engaged in their own independent business and free from your direction or control. So contractor, you don't have to worry about this. If they're an employee for you and they're going to be doing work in Idaho, then you'll need to answer these questions to that fact, okay? So how do I answer this? The employee is going to be a 1099. So, Janet, is this where they will actually do 1099s as under contractors?
It is, but two, I'm finding that if you answer yes to this, it will also think you need a withholding.
Oh, okay.
So if you do not want a withholding, you're going to bypass any of these questions because for some reason this makes it think you want a withholding account.
Well, you're not going to bypass them because I don't think you can.
Well,
you're going
yeah,
to
right.
answer no, right?
Right.
Yeah. So for somebody with a 1099, just answer no to all of these.
Yeah, because you're not going to report the 1099 non-employee at the end of the year to the state except sending in a copy as an informational anyway. You'll only submit 1099s with withholdings on them.
Excellent. And then Paul has a question, will this page automatically register you for the withholding account? So what we're doing here, Paul, is we're asking all these questions to see how your business is going to be constructed. And then they're going to take these answers and then they're going to say, well, he answered yes for this, so the way that his business is constructed, he's going to need a withholding account. And so they will automatically get you set up for one of those. If you answered that you're going to be selling tangible personal property, then they'll say, well, they need a seller's permit, so they'll get that started for you as well. So yeah, this is kind of an all-in-one thing. So that's why they're asking all these questions. It's just trying to figure out how everything is constructed for you.
Steve, it might help to add that it will also take care of all of your Department of Labor for unemployment and work comp on this.
True, yeah. So yeah, it'll get everything for you. It'll determine whether you need it or not, and then if you do need it, it'll get it started for you and get them sent to you. So it's really handy. It's just sometimes people are like, what? I don't understand what's happening. Why are you asking me all of these questions? It's because we're nosy. Okay. If you're acquiring an existing business, then there's some special questions for that as well. The first one, did you acquire all or part of an existing business? It's either all, part, or none. Pick the right answer for you, whichever one is appropriate. And then if you've purchased all or part of an existing business, you'll need to enter in this information. So if you answered all or part, then the rest of these questions will pop up. Did you change the legal business entity? What was the previous owner's name, business name at the time of purchase, the date that it was acquired? Was there a change in owners, members, or partners? And then we have estimated payroll. You'll need to enter in your estimated payroll for each quarter and then when you'll start paying. If you don't enter in any estimated payroll, you're not going to be issued a withholding permit. The reason that we do this is we're trying to figure out what kind of time frame for your withholding. That's what part of this is for. When are you going to enter your first paychecks? And then what do you expect your payroll to be, so we know whether you're filing quarterly, monthly, whatever it is. Okay? And then Emily has a question. How does this step work for sole proprietorship with no contractors? Are you talking about the wages step, Emily? Okay. Well, are you going to be paying yourself wages? Well, all right, perfect. So would you enter in this information as wages for herself and then have to take withholding for herself because she's actually she has a payroll now? Is that correct, Janet?
One of the options is, yeah, you'll put in the amounts here, but when it asks you, there's a withholding box and there's a withholdings only, no employees in Idaho, and you as the owner won't be responsible for unemployment or work comp. So you would want to pick withholding only because you're not really considered an employee as the owner.
This is where the little question mark things come in super handy.
Yes.
Okay, unemployment insurance. So the next question is going to determine whether you need this or not. You just need to answer the questions. Are you subject to the Federal Unemployment Tax Act during the current or preceding year? Have you had or will you have one or more workers in a 20-week or more than that in a calendar year? Have you paid anybody more than $1,500 in wages during a calendar? And you just answer. And I think this is the same thing. If you answer yes to any of these, you're going to get an unemployment insurance thing, right?
Correct.
Yep. And then travel and convention taxes. So these taxes are only collected by businesses that rent out overnight accommodations for less than 30 days. They have to be overnight accommodations. You must provide accommodations. They have to be less than 30 days at a time. Auditorium district taxes are only for businesses within the designated district area, and there are maps for that. So the Greater Boise Auditorium District, Pocatello-Chubbuck Auditorium District, and the Idaho Falls one. These taxes are not collected by or accounts issued to housing accommodations for more than 30 days, hotels that rent out a conference room, or people who travel for work. Okay. But you just go through and answer the questions, and then go from there. And now sales and use tax. All retail sales in Idaho are going to be subject to use tax or sales tax, unless there's an exemption. If you're offering goods for retail sale, then you're going to need to have a seller's permit because you're supposed to be collecting sales tax for that. And if you collect sales tax, you have to have a way to remit it back to the state, and we require a seller's permit for you to do that. So that's why you need it. The nice thing is some marketplaces, such as Amazon or Airbnb, they need a permit as they're going to collect tax on the sales for you. Okay? Sales made to another person for resale, so wholesaler, don't require a seller's permit. However, the seller must receive an exemption certificate from the buyer. And those are usually called ST-101s or ST-103Cs. And if you need more information about this, we cover all of this in our webinars that are called, I do them every month and I can't remember what they're called now. Taxpayer Business Basics for self-employed, or Taxpayer and Business Basics for small business. They're both pretty much the same. The one for small business also covers things about having employees. And those are all available for registration on our website or through Eventbrite like you got to this one. Amber has a question. On the travel, what if when setting up originally you thought you weren't going to travel and now you are? How do you change that? Well, if you've already submitted this, what you'll do is you will go back, create a new account, and then go through these questions again, and then make changes to the ones that you need to make changes to. But remember, when we get to that point where the existing permit numbers, make sure you put in your existing permit numbers so they can pull those up and see what you already have. That makes sense? Sweet. So sales and use tax, it's just going through and giving you information about everything in here, and then you're just going to answer the questions. And all they're doing is they're trying to determine if you're going to need a seller's permit. So sales and use tax, to get some more questions here. Use tax is collected on items you've purchased and brought into Idaho without paying sales tax on them. There are special rules for multi-level marketers such as Avon or Sensi, which is why they ask. Amusement devices require a tax sticker to be attached each year. And then Prepared Wireless has its own special tax to allow for 911 service, which is why they ask all of those questions. And then we have beer and wine and cigarette and tobacco. Sales of beer, wine, cigarettes, or other tobacco products are going to require permits separate from the regular seller's permit. So that's why they're asking you those questions. And then there's some information about out-of-state retailers or marketplace facilitators. Marketplace facilitators are businesses that make sales on behalf of others, like Amazon, which does this a lot. And then out-of-state retailers or marketplace facilitators who make over $100,000 in sales into Idaho in a calendar year are required to have the appropriate seller's permit. And so they're just asking you that question here. And now workman's comp. So do you have a workman's compensation insurance policy? Yes, no, or in process. Are all employees family members living within your dwelling? Yes or no. Are one or more employees family members on the chart shown? And then yes or no for that. So your answers to the questions in front of this are going to determine whether or not you need workman's compensation insurance. And it says because your business has employees that do not meet exemption requirements, it's determined that you need workman's compensation insurance. And then it goes through how to get that done. If you had answered previously and it says, okay, we determined you don't need workman's comp, it's going to tell you that too. So it'll let you know what's going to happen. Okay. And then we're getting towards the end. So we're talking about Idaho Business Directory. So you have the option of including your business on the Idaho Business Directory. There's no charge for this, and there's no requirement to be included. It's just a yes or no question. And then we have the disclaimer at the end. So make your choice here, yes or no, and then hit OK, continue registration. It's going to take you to a review page. So you'll have the opportunity to review your selections at the end. This is going to show you what permits and accounts you've requested, as well as what you don't need. So you'll see that the way that I filled this thing out previously, I need a sales permit, unemployment insurance, withholding, and workman's comp. I don't need auditorium and district or travel and convention taxes, any of the other ones. So these are the ones that I'm going to get that are on the left. You can review all of this. You have to click this button. This one right here, that's the gray one, not the blue one. Click the one that says I've reviewed the information on this page and I've verified that it's accurate and complete. People get caught in a loop because they think they have to click on edit registration because we've been clicking on blue ones a lot. And then all of a sudden you have to click on the gray one. But you'll click on the gray rectangle and then you'll be taken to your confirmation. So after your submission, you'll be sent a confirmation page. Please be sure to print this out or record that confirmation number. If you need to have us look up the status of your application, you'll need that number. Okay? And it can take several weeks to get some of these permits, depending on the traffic. It says 5 to 10 working days. I think that's pretty optimistic, to be real with you. It may take a couple weeks. From the time of completion of the registration process until you receive your permits, it can take several weeks. You're typically going to receive documents from the Department of Labor and the Idaho Industrial Commission well before you get any permits from the Idaho State Tax Commission. We get it last. Yeah, Paul, it happens. People get caught in a loop, like, why will this not complete? Any questions about that? Now, this is not every question you're going to get asked. This is a kind of a general overview of that whole process and what it's going to take to get through it. Well, if you do have questions, Paul says, I can't seem to find my confirmation email. What did it say? What did you say I should do? You should probably call and see if we can help you. Janet, is there any way we can look it up? I know we want the confirmation email. I don't know if there's any other way we can pull it up.
If you don't have, I can look it up by the EIN as well.
Okay, yeah. Another good reason to have an EIN.
Yeah. And then I wanted to ask Olivia real quick, if she's an out-of-state third party or an in-Idaho third party?
Yeah, she's in Washington.
Make sure and put your email down there, Olivia, because I can help you get set up quite a little bit quicker than trying to email in. But you won't do a IBR for an out-of-state because they'll just say they'll close it for no permits needed. So put your email down and I'll get it from Steve.
So yeah, if you just type your email in where it says in the chat window, I will forward it to Janet, and she'll get you through the process. Oh, well, there you go. Perfect. Thanks. So there are a lot of ways to get a hold of us. We're on Facebook for some reason, and Twitter, although I guess it's X now. I don't know. I'm going to call it Twitter. Instagram. We're in LinkedIn. LinkedIn, we actually have information about openings. So if you know somebody who is looking to work for the state of Idaho and the Tax Commission. That last icon is YouTube. I post videos on YouTube. I will post this when it's done rendering. It usually takes me a few days to get it done, and then I will post it there. Can you email about the EIN lookup of the confirmation? Sure, we can get that done too. And then if you need to get a hold of us, you can call us in the Boise area. We have a phone number, which is 208-334-7660. And then toll-free, 1-800-972-7660. And then you can visit us at tax.idaho.gov, that webpage that we started with. And then we have a fax machine, because we like fax machines. It's 208-334-7846. And then we have a contact us form. So if you need to send email to us or find other ways to get a hold of us, you can go to tax.idaho.gov. And on the home page, you know, where we clicked on getting tax permits to get started, if you go up above that where it says contact us in the red circle there and click on that, it'll take you to our contact us page. We have a lot of self-help tools here. So if you need some information about setup or access to a TAP account or getting a power of attorney form, we talked about that a lot, you can get that information there. You'll also notice on the left side it says office location and hours. We have field offices throughout the state. So, I mean, we're based in Boise, but if you're in Coeur d'Alene, we have a field office in Coeur d'Alene. You might be able to go to them to talk to somebody locally. Okay. And then if you want to submit a question to us via email, if you just scroll down a little bit from this page, you'll come to this screen here, and then it's submitting a question. So if you have a question about TAP issues or IFTA or payment plans or other, you can select that and then put in the information and send the email, and it gets routed to the group that's handling that specific topic. So instead of going to one email address where anybody can email anything, they get kind of focused here. So hopefully that gets them answered quicker. And then the bottom part of this is just the phone numbers again, how to get a hold of people. Any other questions? I mean, you guys have been great with the questions, so. And hopefully this was helpful. Well, excellent. Thanks, Olivia. Well, that is all I have. Again, it's just a real quick walkthrough of how to complete an IBR. And if you do have any questions, you can email me, again, at taxtraining@tax.idaho.gov. I have Paul and I think it was Olivia's email, so I'll give those to Janet, and she can help you with that particular information. Amber, let's see. I'm logged in, and I'm noticing some things I need to fix. Oh, perfect. What are the requirements to get to this step? Which step are you talking about, Timothy? Just to get to the IBR? Here, let me zip back real quick. I'll show you. Getting there. Oh, went past it. So in the beginning, you're going to go to tax.idaho.gov, and it's going to be our web page. And then right in the middle of the web page, there's a column that's called Business, and you want to click on Getting Tax Permits, and that's where you'll start this journey. Do you need to register with the Secretary of State before this whole process? I would say yes. It is super helpful. I would register with the Secretary of State, and I would get an EIN number before you do this, because remember, they're going to ask for those, and they need to match for everything except the sole proprietorship. So I would go ahead and get that started first, and then start this. And while you're waiting for this, because again, it could take several weeks to get all of these, while you're waiting for this process to complete, I would see about creating a website for your business, getting a business bank account, getting those started and ready to go. And then after you get your permits, I would see about getting a TAP account. Now, TAP, everybody hide your eyes. I'm going to fast forward now. TAP is a taxpayer access portal. It's a way to make your payments and file your taxes online for Idaho. And you can start that process. We're at tax.idaho.gov again. And instead of clicking on Getting Tax Permits in the middle, you'll go down and click on TAP. And then you can start that process. The TAP process is going to take a couple weeks as well. And you can't start the TAP process until you have your permit numbers. Okay? So the process is going to be register with the Secretary of State, get an EIN number, get your business permits here, website, bank account, TAP. Any other questions? This is kind of fun. I usually do these things for 3 hours, so this one is nice. Excellent. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and leave the room open for a few minutes. So if you do have a question, go ahead and type it in there. Otherwise, if you can't think of it, but you think of it later, go ahead and send me an email. Again, taxtraining@tax.idaho.gov. And I hope you all have a great afternoon. Thanks for attending.